Have you found it difficult to feel peace? To rest in God's love, knowing that He sees you and He is for you. Today, we'll discover an often hidden culprit that prevents us from fully enjoying the peace and rest that God has ready for us. Let's begin. People often think of fear as the opposite of faith. But beneath our fear is often a more subtle and cunning root: pride. Faith says, I will trust God with my whole life and surrender all things to Him, both good and bad. This is the faith that brings rest to our souls. But pride resists surrender. Pride seeks control, the very opposite of faith. It assumes that what we desire is best and that what we fear must be avoided at all costs. More dangerously, it places us in the position of God, believing that we have the knowledge and purity to judge what should happen. Proverbs 3, verses 5 through 6 proclaim, Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own insight. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. It is not a harsh commandment of a distant judge, but rather the gentle guidance of a loving Father who wants only the happiness and freedom of His children. Pride leads us to rely on our own understanding rather than on God's wisdom. And in grasping for control, we don't secure peace. We guarantee our own misery. Pride says, things must go my way, for my way is best. Faith proclaims, not my will, but yours be done. Pride says, I am able. Faith says, God is able. Even when we admit our own powerlessness, pride clings to us in half measures. It acknowledges God's power, but still tries to dictate His will. Pride concedes, I am not able. God is able. But He must do what I think is best. But true faith does not demand outcomes. It says, I am not able. God is able, and He will do what is best for everyone involved. I surrender to Him. If I must suffer, I will embrace it, knowing that His love purifies me, sets me free, and prospers my soul for eternity. Faith ultimately says, I know He loves me, and His love is all I need. This is where fear takes root. Fear is pride's anxious offspring, the fruit of an unsurrendered mind that believes itself the ultimate judge of what is best. Fear arises when we perceive a threat. While some fears protect us from real danger, much of our modern fear poisons the soul. It is the fear that denies God, the anxiety that ignores eternity, the desperate need to secure our own way, even at the cost of rejecting God's way. I see this in myself when I rehearse worst-case scenarios, clinging to the plans I thought were safest, only to realize I've placed more faith in my own strategy than in God's love. When we fear suffering, whether for ourselves or for those we love, we may not realize we've seated ourselves on God's throne. We see no possible good that could come from hardship, so we anxiously strive to prevent what we fear. But this, too, is unintentional pride. I know best. My will be done. Of course, it's natural to recognize that evil exists and suffering is painful. But we forget that God works all things for the good of those who love God, who are called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28. Can we truly say we love Him if we demand that He follow our plans? Can we claim to trust Him if we only recognize His love when He gives us what we want? When we fear, are we not really saying, God, you do not have my best interest at heart. I don't trust that you really love me. Even in our prayers, we may place ultimatums before God, believing in His love only if He grants our desires. But faith does not make demands. Faith surrenders. When we fully surrender to His will, we declare, I love you, Lord, and I trust that you love me more than I can comprehend. Even if I suffer disappointment, pain, or loss, I know you are the God of eternity, the God of love, and you work all things for my good. For no one has suffered more than Christ, and no suffering has ever accomplished more good than His cross. God is working for you today. The God of all power, who holds the universe in His hands, is watching over you. Let go of control. Pride leads only to fear. Let go of your way, no matter how right it seems, and you will be abundantly blessed. Pride exhausts. Faith rests. And only one of them leads us into peace. Trust God in all things, and you will gain the eternal perspective that makes your joy complete and extinguishes the darkness of fear. This fear does not let you rest. But this is our faith, the faith that says, I will rest in His love. He is enough. If today's devotion spoke to your heart, feel free to share a comment or prayer request. You're not alone on this journey. Today and always, let's remember that when we surrender, we're not giving up. We're giving in to a love that carries us, a God who holds us.